You and I need to learn how to live through our trials and tribulation. And if I was at church, I would ask my old school audience to kind of chime in. See, folks who've been in the church for a while, folks who have walked with God for a while, our forefathers, our ancestors, our grandmothers and grandfathers and great-grandparents, they understand that we have to learn how to navigate even through adversity, to continue to live, to keep pressing forward. The old school saints, they recognized that every day wasn't going to be a good day, but every day I'm going to decide to keep living, to move past, to move beyond this moment to capture the next. You and I, sometimes we can get discouraged because our expectations are not being satisfied. What we were hoping for did not yet come to pass. So we disengage, we separate ourselves, cut ourselves away from the path that leads to life and decide to stop living. I want to challenge you right now, if you're watching and you're finding yourself wrestling with depression, you're finding yourself wandering into secondary thoughts, taking you away from the path that leads to life. This is your clarion call to bring you back in. I'm challenging you. I want you to hear this voice that say, no, it's okay to live, to find life, even in the midst of your trial, your tribulation, your negative experience that you're dealing with or facing right now. I want you to make a decision to live through it. Every encounter and every experience is a part of the mixture of life. Here's another thought. There's an interesting story also hidden here in the Old Testament. I'm just going to paraphrase the story. There's a woman named Esther who's a Hebrew. She is living inside of the king's palace. He doesn't know that she's a Hebrew. He doesn't know that she's a part of the Jewish family. She's been brought in to be considered among several women to become the wife of the king. He's looking for a new queen to stand at his side. This woman's name is Esther, and she has the privilege of being selected by this carnal, secular king who has no connections with her heritage, who has actually been convinced to create ordinances and regulations that would bring great harm to her people. She has another family member named Mordecai that has connections with what's happening in the king's palace. And Mordecai is aware of some new regulations that have been put into place that would bring great harm to all the Hebrews. And he has a private conversation with Esther and challenges Esther, because Esther is, in this moment, preparing herself to transition from her place of second-class citizenry, from being considered, nothing but a slave or nothing but a person outside of the formal society. She's looking at an upgrade, if you will. She's looking at the potential of having a promotion, and she sees greater times for her ahead. And now Mordecai challenges her and says, Esther, God's plan is going to be fulfilled for rescuing his people from the damage that this king will try to bring against them. The regulations and the edicts that he's setting into motion that will bring death to many of her fellow family members. Mordecai says to her that if she doesn't act, God will raise somebody else up, and he truly will deliver his people. But this is what he says that I want to underscore for this teaching. But he says to her, but know this, you may have been brought into the kingdom, born into the kingdom for such a time as this.